is to make this kind of drawings. But see, I did, I didn't do that much portrait, but I did.
Ron, did you make those when you were in jail?
Huh?
You made those when you were in
Yeah.
jail? Yes?
Yeah.
Can you tell us, Ron, can you tell us like how you got into jail and that you were actually drawing those in jail? Like, because most people don't do such great artwork in jail, you know? Tell us
I don't know. I mean, there was nothing else to do,
Tell us that whole like story of how that whole thing.
See,
Was this in Hawaii or what?
but these are the ones that everybody liked. Oh, I put on this one, I put the matron's name, Queen of Cell Block 16. But see, I did all this kind of stuff. Mostly figures, nude like this.
Ron, nobody taught you how to do that?
Yeah, exactly.
Ron, nobody taught you how to draw? You taught yourself?
No, I never went to school. So I just did this, and I knew I had these, like this here, but I knew I couldn't bring this to school for my portfolio. I didn't feel like I could show them this kind of pictures, It's nothing bad about it, but, at that time I thought, oh man, nudes, but I made this thing.
Ron, is there any way you could tell us like how the whole story of how you ended up getting in jail and that you were actually making art while you were there?
And, actually, I did not only this drawing, but I learned to make jewelry. And there used to be this seed that looked like ivory. And we couldn't use knives and all that, so we used sandpaper, And it was soft enough so that you can, if you sit there, all day long, just keep doing, you can do some cuts, shape, you can, and then you can paint it, So I learned to do those and other seeds where you don't need to do nothing, you just string it together, like a necklace. And it's funny that I did that there, and then years later I went into the jewelry business because I wasn't selling my artwork, So, that's what I did, and you have all this time, and you got to do something, to kill the time, So that's what I did. I just did the drawings, And I never had training until I went to California and go to Chouinard, But I never expect to be painting. I thought I would be drawing, nice girls again, and advertising. I didn't really know anything about that, it's just my cousin, I think, at that time, who lived there, told me all these things, that I can do or get into. But Bob Owen changed me, made me paint instead, So.
Can you tell me more, Ron, about that group of characters? Like, Ed Ruscha, Larry Bell, Joe Good. What were those guys like? You know, what was it like being part of a group of friends like that? Was it
Oh,
inspiring?
these guys, I mean, they see they were all into it. Even like today, I want to keep in touch with them because they give you that energy. Um, you you see a whole bunch of guys like when we get together. I really miss that being here and the artists. I met a lot of artists, big name artists here too. But it's not the same thing. We never really become that kind of friends, um, where you get really turned on to what they're doing. And when Larry come visit here, I really enjoy his company, and just bullshit. And but the thing is, you see what these guys are doing. I mean, these guys are really doing stuff. And Joe got his new studio, he had his studio and it burnt down and he had to rebuild again. Ed Burrell left, went to Bellingham teaching. Now he's retired, so no excuse. He can do a lot of art. He's a good artist. But these guys, I talk to them on the phone, and I really miss that here. Um, I know since I moved to Brooklyn, a lot of friends that I did have before in the city, they don't come here.
Right.
I said, hey, the distance from here to there and from there to here, same, you know. Same train too. Take the same time. So, I find different, like with my jewelry, it was mostly that. I was lucky to be able to do that and make some money. But, I'd rather be doing this. It's different. And, like I said, with all my friends, that I had, in LA, I'd rather be doing that.
What made Chenard so cool? Like, what was it? What made it a unique school? Do you think, Ron? What made it like something special?
I don't know if that was special. I don't know. The one that's special is the one that's in here that's gonna come. Not this one. I finished this already. That's it. Now it's this little ones that I'm making. Yeah.
But what made Chenard like? What do you think made it an interesting place to be? Was it the people? Was it the kind of instructors you had?
I think it was both. I think it just came together at that time. I think when we were there. I mean, I don't know. I'm sure they had good people before we went there. Bob Irwin went there. He was a student there. Dick Rubin was a student. Um, but they have their own thing, and I'm sure after I left, they had others that came along. But I don't know them. Um, but I think when I was there, the group that we had there, and you can see by what they are doing today. I mean, a whole bunch of guys, and they're still there, doing it too. you know. I think that was a really special place, but I never knew it until now. While you're there doing it, you don't think about it.
Ron, can I ask you, like, what do you think makes certain people become very successful at something, when others don't? Like, What is it, do you think, like having observed how certain people around you became very famous artists, you know? Like what is, I'm just curious, like what your opinion is on that.
I didn't quite
Like
understand.
certain people with like Larry Bell became very famous, right?
Right.
Why is it that certain people become famous? Why do you think that is?
I don't know. You gotta ask them. See if they can tell you. But you know, I don't know. I know it. All I know is I have a lot of friends that was very successful, and I think they're lucky that, you know, it happened with them. There's a lot of things. You know, there's politics also. You know, I'm sure. Um, and they were lucky to find, you know, people that like their stuff, you know, and push it, you know. Right now, same, you know, I'm trying to get a gallery here. I'm trying to find me a dealer. Um, when I was there, it seems like I was already in it with this certain group, you know. Um, but I left, you know. Um, then I came here and I'm trying to do the things that I had before and meeting, you know, the people, but it never happened like that, you know. And now when I look and try to get into a gallery to show my work, then I'd even interested in looking at the work. They just all tell me the same thing. Right now it's slow, or they say right now they're not looking for any new artists, you know. So very few people looked at what I'm doing today, you know, and just like they say, you know, it's nice, but that's not what they're selling today, you know.
Okay.
So that's it. So you gotta talk to Larry and Ed, Richey, you know, Joe Good, and find out from them.
Do you have any like stories of things you guys did together, like that were fun or that were crazy or that you remember? Things that you guys did together?
We always had, I always had fun. I don't remember any specific things, but you know, um, I seem to remember a lot of bad things. You know, usually that's what happens. That's what is so bad. People remember only the bad things and they forget the good things. You know, I know with me, I just like hanging out with all those guys. You know, it was a different kind of group from the ones I left in Hawaii, you know. And, you know, it's just a different group of guys, and we did different things, you know. And I just miss all those guys there, you know. Have somebody you can go out and just bullshit and have a good time, you know. Where before and we were kids too, so you know it's a whole different story. You know, go out and just look for trouble, you know. And yeah, that's it. Yeah.
What what kind of artists, like that was like when you were going to school, was like 1959 or 61, like around there?
58.
58.
Yeah.
What kind of ideas were like? Because I feel sometimes when you go to school, they sort of teach you like a method or introduce you to certain artists and sort of instill in you a certain kind of philosophy. Was there any kind of thinking that came out of Chenard, like, or any kind of artist that they liked, like abstract? You talked about de Kooning and stuff like that.
Right. They had all these different ones, like different teachers. You know, they had their own personal feeling, you know, what they like and what they didn't like. I mean, I could see that right away, when I started taking different classes, you know. Um, Maybe if I understood them more, I would have more to say, but I mean, I know that, for instance, one of my teachers, they weren't into the abstract stuff. They thought that was garbage, you know. And like I went and took um, this illustration, I mean, it's totally different, you know, and doing figures and, what other people would say, oh, you're an artist, you can do all that. Like some of my friends, then they see, the splish splash, dripping, all that stuff. So, like, what is this? You know? Well, there were also teachers that felt the same too. You know, um, I know there were teachers that didn't like what Erwin was teaching or getting the students to do, and Dick Rubin, same thing. I mean, they had their own likes and dislikes, I saw that there when I was there, and from my teachers, And so I just don't take them, the ones that I don't like. I just don't go back, and I just concentrate on the teachers that I like, And but they had that choice, that, and I think that's what's so good about it too, because some some students they have their own taste also. They want to be like Rembrandt, and they can do that there. And they also had pottery, you know, and they had all of that. I don't know about the other schools. I never went to the other schools. But like I said, with the friends that I did have that went to the other school, they all seem to be doing the same thing. And you don't see them doing their own stuff because they all look like who they studied with, And one of my friends, he went back home to Jamaica. That's where he's from, and he ended up teaching, And what's so funny is you talk about years later when I started making jewelry. When I first started making jewelry, I sold on the street in the village. And I met this guy, he was Jamaican, and I met him, and we got along real well. Then we started talking, about the stuff we do, and he one day he said he paints, I said, oh yeah, you paint. And he said, yeah, he want to come see what I'm doing. Then he came over to see what I'm doing, like, what is this? I said, that's my painting, Well, he couldn't see it, So I went to his place. I looked at him and I said, I knew somebody that was from Jamaica, and I said, he was a good artist, and I said, he looks just like this. Pointing at, I said, it looks just like this. He go, who's that? I said, Jane Hyde. He said, that was my teacher. Look, I mean, it's just how many years went by, The guy teaching, and that's what his students doing, So I thought that was really funny.
That's crazy.
But he's doing real good, my friend. He's doing good with his paintings. He's doing good with his. Actually, I don't think he's doing jewelry anymore because his paintings were. Is doing good. I think that's all he's doing now.
What about, had you ever seen, you talked about seeing Disney sometimes when you were at Chenard, Walt Disney, or seeing Nelbert Chenard, what did you think of them? What did you think of Nelbert? Did you hear anything? Did you hear stories about her? Was she thought to be a certain kind of woman, or?
When during the times when I went, I didn't know anything about them. I seen them, and they said, "Oh, that's Mrs. Chenard." And she used to go around. I see her talking to people, but because of my problem, with the English, what I'm gonna say to her, But I see her there, I see Walt Disney, I don't know what they were doing there, but you see them, And I only find out later from stories and from what people talk about how Disney helped Shenard and all that. But when I was there, I didn't know anything about it. Yeah.
Yeah. Were you sad when the school closed down, Ron? Were you sad when the school closed down?
No, I think it closed in 72.
Were you sad?
Huh?
Were you sad? Like unhappy that it closed?
What's that?
Were you unhappy or sad that it closed?
See, when they closed at the first time in 72, I didn't know anything about it. It's only when they started with Dave Toujours, when he started to do that whole thing again, and we went there for the opening, we donated work, for the auction and all that, and it was really great, I mean, I thought that was like the greatest thing, and we had several shows there at the museum, at different places, and then one day I get this letter saying they closed. Man, I don't know how you explain it. I mean, you can imagine with Dave. I mean, look, he don't want to put this whole thing together, and the guy that Bob Perry, so I thought it was gonna get started again. I mean, it looked that way, but it didn't. And I hope they still somehow, I can't believe that they couldn't find backers. There's plenty of them there in California. Now why that didn't happen, I don't know. Probably politics again, I mean, I don't know. I don't know why it didn't, continue.
When you saw Nelbert, though, what did you think of her? Did you have any impressions of her? Did she seem like a real tough woman, or did she seem like a really ambitious woman, or?
Like I said, I never really got to know him. I just see her and I know she used to go around to the classes. There were people that talked to him, so you got to find those people who talk to him. God, I never did talk to him. All I know is I saw her around there all the time. And I don't know how long. she went there. Um, I don't know if she was around when the school closed, you know.
Ron, what made Chenard important to you as an artist? Like the experience there, what was it an important experience for you as an artist with the kind of people you met and the things you went through there? Like, can you talk about that?
About I didn't.
You know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes like the younger part of a person's life sort of like forms their character and their ideas. Was Chenard an important experience for you as an artist personally?
Was it important? I think so, because otherwise, we wouldn't be doing all of this, Um, I know other people, I had some other friends that went to uh, City College, and had art there. But it's like they never went anywhere. After they finished, they just got a job, and the job was something else, had nothing to do with art. You know, um, I don't know. I don't think they had that kind of group. Other place. Not that I know of. You know. I just think with Chenard, it was just the timing of the teachers and the students, because you can get good teachers and you don't have the students, in into what they're doing, you don't get anything, you know. Same thing, you can get students, that really, want to do some stuff, and then you get boring teachers, nothing happens, you know. I know here they talk about the art student league. It's the same thing. Certain times, you have certain people there with the teachers, and then other